Hi spooky friends, welcome back to Kelly Does Stuff. Today I thought I would take you on a journey. Let's go back in time to the design and build process for my Bayou and Haunted Hills display. This is the biggest build I had ever done. I did this a couple of years ago. It features like about 40 buildings, both Limax and Department 56, and it takes up the most real estate in my overall Halloween display that I set up in my dining room. Now, I titled this video Behind the Scenes, which is a really fancy, lovely way of saying this footage is rough.
Just kind of move this out of the way for a second. So these two actually kind of come together.
I filmed this and built this before I had a channel. And I decided to film it because I thought, well, this is a really big build. It'd be very cool to document it. And then if I do have a channel, which I had kind of been thinking about, I can use this footage. I wish I had thought that through a little bit more because I filmed vertically for some reason. So that's rough to look at. And then also the camera quality. Oh, wow. I film everything on my iPhone, and the iPhone that I had just a few years ago to now, and the camera quality is better now. I do wish it was better quality for you all because I do think it's a really cool process to see how a display this big got built and kind of the evolution that I went through, but the footage is what it is. So I started this build in March of the year that I did it and pretty much worked on it all the way until it was time to set it up, which I think I did around September of that year. And I called it the Bayou and Haunted Hills, but it didn't start out exactly that way. You can see I had a pirate element to it. I had just a couple of pieces that were kind of bayou swamp related. I didn't really know what this display was. I just knew that I wanted some sort of water element build to it. Now, if you've hung out with me before, you know that my obsession for all things village, whether it's Halloween or Christmas, comes from my dad. Oh, what's your favorite section? There we go.
What's my favorite section of what you've done?
Yeah, or you could do, yeah.
Well, I didn't mean
Well,
that to come
I mean,
across as such a stupid question.
No, but it sounds like, I guess you could say like.
There's two favorites.
Oh, okay.
The carnival and the bayou section.
Yeah. And like, we're really obsessed. And I was sending him videos of what I was working on. I was talking about it. We were both getting super into it and we just went off the rails. My dad was sending me new pieces constantly. Like I'd open up the front door and here's a package and here are more buildings that fit in with the theme. It kind of expanded. We had a railroad section. The display had to grow and evolve to accommodate all of these new buildings. I mean, I was not complaining about this. Eventually, the pirate element of that got scrapped. The pirate thing needed to be its own display. And as the pieces started to arrive and they were very clearly some sort of like swampish type of thing, it really then did solidify into the bayou. And then other pieces were kind of then what I call the Haunted Hills. So it was sort of like the Haunted Hills were kind of coming down into the section that was the bayou. And so once I finally decided we've got a bayou section, let's get going on it. That's what this very rough footage is. If it's your first time here, maybe check out a different video, one of my other videos first, where I kind of had my stuff together a little bit more. You want to know a thing? I branded myself. It's a nightmare. So maybe everything's always chaotic. The quality got better, but the chaos remained the same. So here it is, designing and building the Bayou and Haunted Hills section of my display. For the water, I went with that toilet paper glue method. This is a piece of EPS foam that is over 4 feet long. I think it's maybe like 2.5 feet wide. And so for me, that was just too big of a section to do a resin pour or a product like realistic water. And I liked this toilet paper method because it allowed me to get a little bit of detail and texture It's a bayou, so we don't got a lot of wave action going on. We got kind of still water, but this at least allowed it to look like a little bit more than just some paint on some styrofoam. I also did go over it with some PVA glue once the paint was dry. That helped strengthen the foam, which if you've worked with EPS foam before, you know that by looking at it, sometimes it just wants to break. But when that glue dried, it did give a little bit of a reflective quality. So when all of the lights on the buildings were on, they kind of were shining off the surface of that foam and helped give a little bit more of a water effect without there being any water effect. I use cutouts of the building to help determine the placement of everything in the bayou, and cutouts are really helpful when you've got a long project and you want to keep your buildings packed up and tucked safely away. In addition to making platforms, I was making all types of accessories, from docks to hot glue swamp trees, anything that I could think of that this display was going to need. This area here is like a little swamp runoff into a little swamp pond. I had this piece by Department 56 of like a truck kind of stuck in the swamp. So this I did actually want to carve out. I covered it in plaster and then I used Realistic Water by Woodland Scenic. So this was like a little area of the display where I could have a more realistic water effect. Over the next several months, I built so many platforms, primarily for that Haunted Hills section that was behind the bayou and to the right of it. And in addition to this being the biggest build that I had ever done, this is the first time I had ever really committed to a layout for my buildings. I'd always really liked the flexibility each year when I go to set it up and kind of playing around and deciding where I was going to put each building. But these platforms were built to the size of the buildings that were going to go there. For my Rocky Mountain detail, I did a combination of using hot wire tools to carve detail into the foam and then also carving foam into rough shapes of rocks that I covered with plaster. Let's go back in time and see what I had to say at the time of the build.
Okay, I thought I'd give a little tour of how the bayou is built. We have these foundational styrofoam pieces really to just give height. It started out with this bayou strip. So far we've got, this is six full 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces here, and then we have other strips going that way. The bayou section is 82 inches long and 60 inches deep. What I'm gonna do is kind of put these different pieces of the bayou and kind of starting to go up into the Haunted Hills, so you can kind of just see how that kind of starts to get built and come together.
I think one of the reasons I have such an aversion to measuring is because of this project. I was constantly double checking my measurements to make sure that this was going to fit in my dining room. I think when all was said and done, I ended up having an inch to spare. Every single day I would pull all of these platforms out, I would pull the bayou pieces out, work on the detail, work on the arrangement of them, and then at night I would move everything back to the storage part of the garage so we could have some space to walk in our garage.
This plaster is still wet, so this kind of fits a little bit in there, and I didn't want to damage it while it's still drying. So this will move forward. These pieces kind of lock, not really lock, but kind of fit together a little bit more. And then probably what I'm going to have to do is go back and shave this down so that this can be a little bit more flush. together. They go in a little bit more, but you'll have trees and things that kind of hide some of this gappy stuff. These all kind of get glued together. Not kind of, they do get glued together, so it's one piece. I don't know that I'm gonna drill holes all the way down through this for the cords, so I'll probably need to run the cords through here. So it's really helpful to have different sections like this so you can pull kind of stuff through and then close it up. Okay, update time. I checked the time stamp of the first video I did and it was 9:23 p.m. It is 2:27 and it seems a little unbelievable to me that this is kind of all that has happened, but we've done some painting of various sections. This is just first coat. We'll have dry brushing, highlighting, all that jazz. One of my favorite platforms that I made was for a Limax piece. I call it the mine piece. I think it's actually called a quarry, but I do have the full video on that build if you are interested. And here are a few of the other platforms that I made. This is for a Limax piece called Last Ditch Gas, and I wanted to kind of create this like ramp up kind of drive for the truck. That part right there is covered in sawdust. Then I've got some sand for ground cover. We've got moss and different types of grass. Another one of my favorite platforms is this one that I made for Bone Grinder Mill by Department 56. This is XPS foam that I carved primarily with a blade, painted, and then covered in moss. And I kind of consider this a transition piece kind of from the bayou into the hills, or down from the hills into the bayou. It sits on top of that green swamp area, so you could get out of your boat, hop onto that dock, and then climb your way up to the mill, if that felt like something you wanted to do.
Today we are working on what I think is going, well, actually it's not, I lied. I was gonna say it's gonna be like the final construction part of the Haunted Hills. It's not, we still have some stuff to the right of the mine that we're gonna have to do. Okay, so this is the area we're gonna be working on today. We have a lot to do. It's August 15th. We have 10 days until we're going to begin setting up the Bayou and the Haunted Hills section. I have concerns. I have some real concerns that we're gonna get it all done. What I'm hoping is that we're gonna get the mountain, the rocks done. We got a stucco wall to do. We're doing some test. By we, I mean me. We have a bridge, test stucco wall, then build the wall, paint the wall. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot. I always get really ambitious for the day and think that I can get more done in a day than I can. I don't know. This is a disaster. I mean, we got a lot going in here. I can't even move and function in this space. So we're gonna take this outside, get an area set up where I can move, have 360 to move around, because currently we got, I mean,
We got a lot. So here's the result of what I made. I actually have no idea if I was able to get that done in 10 days, and I have no idea why I made up that deadline. Maybe I was going out of town or something. This is, as you saw, that XPS foam with rock and plaster. I built this for 3 buildings, well, 2 buildings. This is a Limax building. That space is an accessory, a Department 56 accessory, and then back there is another Limax building. And I was very proud of myself that I did think of leaving those holes there for the cords to thread through. The accessory here is a lit accessory, so I've got the hole for that, and then for this building, that cord is going to thread through that gap right there. Then we have this rocky ramp. I think I referred to it as a bridge at the time of the build, and this is going to lead up to the platform for one of my all-time favorite buildings, Wasteland Pub by Limax. And behind this platform here is that stucco wall I was talking about, and it kind of put some barbed wire up at the top of that as well. This, I think, is the creepiest platform I did. This is for Lilith's Creepy Dolls by Limax, and so of course we had a creepy doll head into the face of the mountain there. And I do have a video of making that specific platform if you are interested in a creepy doll platform. And of course, we had to create a section for our train. These are Department 56 pieces. They light up, they are so beautiful. They connect to each other, but they are not a moving train. So I created a track from some popsicle sticks and some dowels. And this section is 1 layer below or lower than the Bayou. It's right in front of it. And one more look at what this design was supposed to be, and now we'll take a quick look at the setup. Every year after the first year, I have had to go back and look at the tape to see how I set it up the previous year. All these little foundational pieces, I thought all my little notes would make sense. I would remember what to do. I did not remember what to do. Setting this up every year is a pretty big question mark. Am I gonna get it right? And if you want to see a more detailed setup process, I do have a couple videos on setting up the Haunted Hills and the Bayou. I was so worried about the added weight of all these platforms, I was afraid my folding tables were going to collapse. So I cut a bunch of support boards with 2x4 to put under the table. This was ridiculous.
Wait, hold on. Oh, Marcus! They are not tall enough.
By how much?
Well, on the rug, it's like 1/8 of an inch.
Perfect.
Maybe, but
Yes.
over here, I didn't account for
No,
that.
that's fine. Just it needs 2 or 3 pieces of cardboard. You're good to go.
Here we go, Angel. This is gonna be super secure. Okay, come here. Don't feel like super confident. But come here. Oh my. I have a problem. This doesn't, no, this really was on that side. Can you go against the wall? Oh. The Bayou has 2 rows of buildings, and for the ones in the front, I did cut holes in the foam. You can see I did it after the fact, all 3 layers, so I could thread my cords down and then underneath the foam and through the gaps in the tables down to my outlets. In the back row, I have a gap between 2 tables. So these are 2 6-foot tables, one right in front of the other. That gap there is where I can thread the cords in the back row of buildings. So I didn't need to do holes for those. That's it, spooky friends, behind the scenes on building the Bayou and Haunted Hills. Thank you all for joining me on this journey and for tolerating that subpar filming. We'll do a quick little reveal right here. I do have a couple of Bayou reveal videos that's just the reveal, getting in there to look at the details. There's a 2023 reveal video. And then if you look at the 2024 full Halloween Village reveal, that first part there is the Bayou. Again, thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you could give this video a like, share it with 5 or 10,000 of your spooky friends, and it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to the channel. I'm really trying to grow the channel, and I just want to say a huge, massive thank you to all of you who have subscribed. It means so much to me. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon, and happy creating! Now becomes, do I flip-flop these? I really should look at the tape, but instead I'll just problem solve it for an hour. Why am I like this? Why am I like this? All right, let's see. Can you see that? No, hello.